When it comes to a majority of independent films found at most film festivals, even if that film festival is as prestigious as Sundance, Cannes, or South by Southwest, which I had the absolute pleasure of getting to attend just this last week, it's difficult not to look at the films found at those film festivals differently than the ones released in cinemas around our country, and to not in some way, even if just subconsciously, grade them on this curve. Because even while a film festival like South by Southwest is often the place where we'll find the smaller, less marketable, and consequently more narratively unique and visually fresh films, we'll also find that the filmmakers behind those films are only just beginning to cut their teeth. They're still in their infancy as artists, and they may indeed have extremely rewarding off-the-wall sensibilities, tastes, and voices, but those voices are still green and usually limited by that, as well as a smaller budget, limited technical know-how, and just a lack of professional polish, which can absolutely work for the content found in a number of independent films. You look at Ryan Coogler's Fruitvale Station, Chris Nolan's Following, or Rian Johnson's Brick, and you'll find three brilliant films that showcase a young filmmaker choosing a story and setting that would be served by their limited budget and experience. All this to say, last week at South by Southwest, I couldn't help but harbor at least a modicum of skepticism walking into a sci-fi western called Prospect. It seemed risky, if not completely foolhardy, on an independent film budget attempting a genre that we, the viewer, are so used to seeing produced with the highest level of big-budget Hollywood craftsmanship, polish, and spectacle. And as such, I really was ready to grade Prospect on that film festival curve. But I mean it when I say it took a grand total of 3 shots for me to almost completely disregard those fears and doubts. The very simple and intimate way that this film opened with the trio of shots that focused in on the film's lead character instantly told me that the filmmakers behind it knew exactly what to focus on and what not to. No, I didn't see some large exterior of a massive spaceship right off the bat, but I did see 3 fantastically lit, beautifully production-designed images that instantly communicated what kind of world this was and the very fitting perspective I was going to get of it. And going forwards, the filmmakers never seemed to lose sight of that ideology. And again, the genuinely noteworthy aspect of their visual approach was that it wasn't made for purely practical reasons. Constantly cutting to wide, super expensive VFX shots would have actually undercut the story that was being told. The close, sometimes claustrophobic camera work and handcrafted production design felt so true to this narrative as well as these characters' journeys. And that is just great filmmaking. In the film, for example, the lead characters were these intergalactic prospectors who were searching for this rare and valuable resource on this toxic planet. And because of that unwelcoming environment, each of them were forced to wear either some sort of mask or helmet. Apparatuses that throughout the film felt so very claustrophobic and restricting, making the claustrophobic and restricted camera work both appropriate and effective. With that said, this film was not merely a bunch of stitched together uninteresting close-ups. In fact, the directors were constantly finding these beautiful and elegant framings that allowed us to drink in their beautiful and unique filming locations. Their choice, too, to just linger on shots of the environment gave it this almost sentient aura, like it was a character watching the other characters struggle and fight through it. Another reason that independent films can be so incredibly fun is that the pressure to turn a massive profit or develop the next massive cinematic universe is not one of the primary motivators in how the narrative develops. As such, you often end up with stories that are able to twist and turn in genuinely unexpected and often thrilling ways. Specifically, in Prospect, the original plans that the characters had were constantly being overturned, forcing them to make ones that were far less predictable and therefore far more interesting. What the filmmakers were able to pull out of this film's 2 lead actors, Pedro Pascal and Sophie Thatcher, was also notably stellar. From the former of those 2 actors, you could just sense this hunger for this kind of fresh, exciting, and challenging character. And with the latter, I sincerely felt that I was watching the first film of a new major movie star. She was given the extremely challenging job of playing a character who really did not wear her emotions on her sleeve. For most of the film, she was not only hidden behind this spacesuit, her character was also written as someone who was constantly masking and repressing her emotions. A personality that the writers did a brilliant job justifying in what was likely one of my favorite scenes in the film. And no spoilers, but let's just say, ouch. Another reason that the actors were able to turn in such memorable performances was the fantastically distinct dialogue that they were given. Along with the visual style, the dialogue really was where the writing and directing team of Caldwell and Earl displayed their unique vision and voice most clearly. One of the few places that this film stumbled was just near its climax, where the different characters' motivations and purposes just became slightly convoluted and confusing. But that really was just a brief trip up, and the film quickly recovered from it. At one point in Prospect, the lead character of C is talking about this book that she'd been obsessed over as a youth, and though the physical copy was long gone, she still remembered so many of the intimate details about the book. As she said it, not the exact words, but I know every scene. And to me, as demonstrated through their film's tight narrative and stunning visuals, Chris Caldwell and Zeek Earl knew the sci-fi genre. They knew the scenes that we, the audience, would expect, and they knew the visuals that we would want to see. And their stellar take and perspective on those elements didn't just make this film a good film festival film, it made it a good film. One that was just as good as, if not better, than its big budget peers. And for all these reasons, I will give the film a 4 out of 5, and definitely a Hart. I don't know when you guys will be able to see this film, maybe limited release, maybe on Netflix. I really hope so for your sake, but when you have seen it, definitely comment below and let me know. Finally, please do subscribe. I'm going to continue to review films and television on this channel, and I would love for you to stay up to date on all of those things. But for now, I'm Chris Hartwell. This is The Heartbeat. Thank you for joining me.